As with every couple of weeks, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen some pretty awesome new releases for Fallout 4, of course, in the form of mods. But this time around, we got some unique stuff, some things that we don't typically, and I wanted to talk about some of that. A good chunk of this being around the Fallout 3 Remake mod, that known as Fallout 4 The Capital Wasteland. Them, as you probably guessed, trying to recreate Fallout 3 in Fallout 4's engine. But even outside of that, there's several other pretty cool things to look at and talk about. If you enjoy this type of content or just want to stay up to date with the Fallout 4 or Bethesda modding scene in general, you can leave a like or subscribe. I post videos like this pretty often, but first and foremost, let's take a look at the Lamprey Floaters. To some of you, these may look somewhat familiar. These are actually based off the concept art for Fallout 3. The floaters were an enemy that appeared in some of the original Fallout games. In effect, they were described as FPV exposed flatworms, so a highly mutated flatworm is really what this thing is. And although they were planned for Fallout 3 initially, they never ended up making it into the final game, but now, thanks to mods, we actually have them in Fallout 4. These guys are pretty cool. They function fairly similar to some of the bugs in Fallout 4. You'll find them throughout the Commonwealth overall, but really focused in the glowing sea. There's going to be several different variants of these. You could have smaller versions, different colors of them, but nearly all of them do the same thing, having that ranged attack. One other pretty cool aspect is actually upon death, they do explode, and a nice added feature is there's actually a pet variant you could also find at the edge of the glowing sea. This is going to function fairly similar to some of the other followers in the game. It'll follow you around, attack enemies, or you can dismiss it to one of your settlements. Fallout 4 modding really just doesn't see a lot in the way of new creature mods. So for that reason alone, coupled with this being pretty lore friendly, considering it is a creature that appears in this universe, makes it a great addition, period. Ironically enough, although this was developed by some of the members of the Fallout 3 Remake mods team, it's actually not going to be used in the Fallout 3 Remake mod because, well, floaters didn't appear in Fallout 3, but it may be used by some of the other mods like Fallout 4 New Vegas. But as you're about to see, this is actually only the tip of the iceberg as far as mods coming from this project goes. They recently released a roadmap for some of their future plans and future releases, documenting the next month or so. To many of you, this roadmap might look familiar. It's in a very similar theme to what we saw with Fallout 76, and although many of these are being released under the Capital Wasteland umbrella, most of the development of these is being done by Fried Turkey and HXC Grill. On this, you can see a lot of cool things, like just tomorrow, we're actually getting the return of several Merc outfits. Funnily enough, we also knew this was supposed to be coming with Creation Club. Recently, Bethesda teased one of their new releases or new planned releases for Creation Club, this involving a return to Fallout 3's Capital Wasteland, but that was actually just recently delayed. Basically, Bethesda describes how there were some issues with some of the planned things to be released, and as a result, they're pushing the overall release back. I didn't really feel like this warranted a full video, but it actually fits in pretty naturally right here in this video. So yeah, if you're looking for the Fallout or Skyrim stuff, it has been pushed. We don't have an exact release date on this. It was basically described that it'll be later in this year. If they get things sorted, it might be in just a couple of months, but if it's actually towards the later part of the year, it'll merge with the other release that was planned for sometime in this winter. But hey, if you're hoping for a free mod version, that should be out just tomorrow. A week or so after that, on October 1st, we're also getting more just miscellaneous outfits from Fallout 3 in Fallout 4. But as we work our way into October, you could see a lot in the way of creature releases for Fallout 4. Again, a category that definitely needed some love, and it looks like it's getting it. Centaurs are getting added, one of the most iconic creatures from Fallout 3, and also looking pretty terrifying. Other things that we've seen in the past, like the ghoul mask that was featured in one of the recent trailers, the classic behemoth, and DC mole rats. These two mods likely changing up the look of these creatures in Fallout 4, making them a lot more akin to what we saw in the previous game. And then finally, with one of the biggest releases right at the start of November, we are getting a Fox DLC, him getting added into Fallout 4 as a new follower mod. Very recently, they actually just teased some images and footage of him. No mod team has really done anything quite like this in the past, actually creating a roadmap, releasing consistent content week by week for Fallout 4. A lot of mod teams do have periodic releases, a weapon here, an armor there, but this is pretty awesome. It's something to look forward to each and every week, and with so many people loving Fallout 4 mods and also Fallout 3 nostalgia, it seems like this is going to be a really cool combo. I'll likely cover pretty much everything on this roadmap in a video at some point, but I think this is really cool, and also is some decent counter programming considering Bethesda just announced that return to Fallout 3 in the Creation Club. I'll have links to all of Fallout 4 The Capital Wasteland Project's social media down below if you want to check out some of their teasers or just some additional details on what they're doing or what they've done already. But moving on, speaking of bringing things from other games into Fallout 4, we also do have Perks 7 76. This is actually a pretty simple one. What it's going to do is add in some of the perks that appear first and really only in Fallout 76 into Fallout 4. This is added in using the level up menu EX mod, so it kind of changes the way perks look a little bit, but functionally it's very similar. There's some other expansions or extensions to this that actually give you skills and stats in that manner, but this isn't one of them. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It doesn't quite add every single perk from Fallout 76, but a lot of the major ones, and a lot of these are actually pretty useful in Fallout 4. We've definitely seen a growing theme of people backporting stuff from newer games, some of the best features into Fallout 4, making Fallout 4 even a little bit better, and I like this. I think it's a good addition to the game, and it's a great one to install in your existing playthrough or even a new one. But speaking of other mod projects, we also saw a release from Fallout 4 New Vegas. This also being a pretty big release for Fallout 4. You know how in Fallout 4 it's kind of frustrating or obnoxious that while reloading you actually have to reload every bullet even if you've only fired one. There have been mods attempting to fix this in the past, that being a script approach to it, but they had their issues. Well, now with the bullet counted reload system, it's pretty much the end all be all to this issue. So at its core, what this is going to do is at an engine level allow you to reload just one bullet at a time. Out of the box it ships with functionality and support for the lever action rifle in Fallout 4. So now after firing once, you could reload just one bullet. You could actually pause yourself mid-reload to start firing immediately, even if you're halfway through that animation. And something this has over some of the previous attempts is it actually works in third person. This is just a more cleaner and functional implementation of this. And hopefully what it means is we'll actually see this start getting added to other mods for Fallout 4. There's a lot of tutorials with it, but it would make a lot of those kind of lever action or shotgun based mods a lot more fun and functional, at least for me. And really the reason you should care about this one is it seems like it's the one. It is the solution. As of right now, again, it's just for the lever action rifle, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some mods getting updates with support for this. But even further, it is described how all throughout Fallout 4 New Vegas, the larger mod, this will be functionally added and apparent with some of the weapons in that. But then we do have Summer Overhaul. This will be another one of those environmental overhaul mods for Fallout 4, adding in some trees, some foliage, and making the game a bit greener. Although it's definitely not as intense or powerful as some of the other mods. It's not kind of overbearing like we see with some of them. Ironically enough, today's actually the first day of fall, so it's not even summer anymore. But I would say, put simply, mods like this are really subjective. Do you like what you're seeing? Do you like some of those visual changes? I personally do. I think it makes the game look a little bit better. It makes a lot of sense for Fallout 4 to be kind of overgrown and have a lot more foliage than it does by default, but of course not too much. You want it to be moderated, you want it to be appropriate, and I feel like this mod does capture that decently. So at the very least, it's definitely one I'll be using for a little while. You'll probably be seeing it in the background of some of my future videos, and it is a nice addition even in the sense that we haven't seen too many new releases in this category. Not too many new environment mods have come out over the past 6 months to a year for Fallout 4. A couple of weeks ago now, I did talk to you about the Machine and Her mod. This basically being a DLC-sized companion and quest mod for the game. It's really awesome. If you haven't checked it out, I will have a link to that down below also, but with that, it actually was very heavily focused on dialogue, being a character-driven DLC. Unfortunately, out of the box, it didn't actually support some of those extended dialogue mods, but now somebody has added in that functionality. This wasn't simple. I was actually following the progress of this one. It's not like it was a 1-2 and done kind of mod implementation, and I would actually argue the Machine and Her's dialogue really lends itself to this style, much more so than the 4 options we see in Fallout 4. It's more true to form with some of the older game dialogue and really just done pretty well overall. So you've been playing it and you want to have this functionality now, you can add this on, or if you've just never heard of the Machine and Her, it's a great addition for Fallout 4 and I highly recommend giving it a chance. But either way, that's pretty much going to wrap up the modding side of this video. But before we end things off, I do want to give today's psychology fun fact of the day. I haven't actually done one of these in a while now, like it's been several weeks, but hey, why not? Whenever I do these Fallout 4 mod videos, it really takes me back to when I did these all of the time. So what I want to talk about today is something probably relevant to a lot of you watching, that with procrastination. This is something almost everyone probably does at one point or another, and I think a lot of people just associate it with being lazy, but it's actually a lot deeper than that. Sometimes the root cause of your procrastination could be something that you can actually solve. It might not just be, oh, I'm inherently lazy, but there's a bigger issue there. There's several of these, but one that I really want to choose to focus on that probably is one of the common ones is that the goals are just too abstract. There's been a lot of research done on this. I'll have some links to websites around this down below, but basically studies have shown that when you actually have a non-specific goal, like just get in shape or make more money, it actually leads to more procrastination than when you have a more specific goal. goal in mind. For example, when people had the goal of just getting in better shape versus going to the gym 3 times a week, more procrastination occurred when that goal was broader, when it was more vague and not as specific. That of course increases if you get really specific, like go to the gym 4 times a week, lift weights for 20 minutes, and then run for 10 minutes. More well-defined or concrete goals like that are a lot more likely to be completed compared to just get in shape. At the end of the day, the two things pretty much are the same. It's really just about the mental framing of it. A task as large and nondescript as getting in shape can be pretty intimidating and not something most people will do, while just going to the gym on Monday is pretty easy and something you can definitely accomplish and probably will end up doing. I'll again have links to some of this down below if you find yourself being a heavy procrastinator or what you would define as lazy, and you'll probably read through it and be like, hey, I do a lot of this stuff, or a lot of this stuff is leading to my procrastination. Either way, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.